audible voice, she says, that God spoke to her and said, "Trust me, Lillian." Well, over the next few years, her life began to change. She began to reach out to me. And as a result of that, I pushed back. I didn't want anything to do with it. I wanted to play golf. I went to school on a golf scholarship. After I got out of college, I moved away from town because I wanted to get away from her, because she wanted me to know Christ, and I was too into my thing. And so that went on for a few years. I moved to a place called North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I went there to gamble and to play golf and try to get on the tour. Well, none of that happened. I got frustrated. My world came preaching to a halt because my goal could not be met now.
Number two, a faithful few willing to follow. I found out it doesn't matter how weak a person is spiritually, how undeveloped they are. In fact, those are the people I most put in my group. Most of the people that come into my group, I'm having the privilege to lead to Christ. And I brought a couple of guys into my group this year that had made a profession of Christ within weeks or months before the group started and said to me, honestly, I'm not sure I'm really a Christian. I think I am, might have become, think so. And I said, yeah, it's hard to know till fruit's there to show. But let's jump in the group and let's see where it goes. And they've been two of my most faithful, wonderful people in my journey group this year. So, but they have to be faithful. That's the key.
So you really have to look at, the core competencies that you have, leverage all of those strengths, and then go outside of that realm to obtain the other competencies that you need. Organizations don't always know what they don't know, which is a limiting factor in and of itself, and gets them into a realm of vulnerability. And rather than do that, they need to seek outside resources, tools, and also use systems. And I also see systems as technology, because they need to work more effectively and efficiently in today's economy.
Powerful. Tasita, non-negotiables for churches from a legal perspective.
From a legal perspective, in order for the church to effectively reposition itself, the church really does need to know what are its rights and what are its responsibilities.
I'd like to invite you to change the world with me. Hi, Os Hillman here. Is that too big a dream? The Bible says all things are possible with God. Martin Luther King believed he could change the world through his faith in civil rights, and he did. Thomas Edison and Steve Jobs believed they could make the world better through invention, and they did. Billy Graham believed he could change the world through preaching the gospel so that lives could be transformed, and he did.
Okay, we're going to let the middle section right here, this is kind of the valley floor. So we're going to kind of divide you guys right down the middle here, all right? And the valley floor is about, 500 yards wide, let's call it. There's foothills off to this side, and there are foothills off to this side. The reason this place has great significance in the history of the world is because of all of the battles, all of the wars that were fought here. 3,200 years ago, there are two nations getting ready to go to war. One nation has encamped in these foothills. One nation has encamped in these foothills. All of you folks over here, you are going to be the nation of Israel. All right? And you're encamped in these foothills. Everybody over here, you are going to be the mighty nation of the Philistines. Sorry.
These two things go together, the love of God and the love of others. When Jesus is summing up the essence of what biblical religion is all about, he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandments. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. You see, those two things go together. Loving God because He loves us, then we are able to move out and to love others.
Here are two of that team who will share with you the impact it made in their lives.
When we were first presented with the opportunity to join other business leaders in Mexico and share our passion for business, along with our passion for Christ, with business leaders throughout the country, we couldn't wait to get started.
And one of the most wonderful things is that we were taught and trained to tell our life story.
I would say that I learned more about God and I got a better connection with God. If you go to this camp, you will never come out the same.
Randy really has the unique perspective of someone who led the team deciding on the mission to build this facility, helped build this facility through the construction and planning process, and now runs the daily operations. And this really provides him a unique perspective on the impact that this project has had on the community and on the church.
It is a bridge. It's a bridge between the people in our church and our community, and a bridge from the people, for the people in our community, the unchurched, the dechurched, back to church.
I think a reaffirmation that God has a design and purpose for my life, but that design and purpose fits into what is His design for the coming of His kingdom. I think it also reaffirmed that I can effect change and cultural change.
Metro Atlanta has the smallest watershed serving its population.
Protecting the rivers is vital.
The amount of water available here to us is barely enough.
And it's apparent that we have just about reached the limits.
Life cannot exist without water. What could be more important?
The Chattahoochee River of Life.
In August of 2009, a devastating fire swept through St. Elmo's United Methodist Church. The 1921 structure was completely consumed. As the smoke faded, the question in everyone's mind was, could anything be saved, or would this historical building be lost forever? Under normal circumstances, St. Elmo's probably would have been considered a complete loss.
We got in the car and came right over here about 15 minutes, and you could see flames coming out of one of the windows. When we were on the street out there, we thought the whole thing was going down completely.
The loss was horrible, but yet it served a purpose, a higher purpose.
The space we had before was not really conducive to what we were doing.
After the structural engineer and the architect took a look at the building, they determined it was possible to salvage 3 of the existing walls.
The CDH team created a solution to rebuild this landmark church that is so familiar to the St. Elmo community. Engineers worked with the Strauss Company, the church's contractor, to preserve the 3 remaining walls of the original building and to construct a new church. The end result was an energy-efficient facility that is better suited for the ministry needs of the congregation and the community.
We wanted something that still felt like a worship place, because beauty doesn't seem to be valued so much in our world anymore.
And because it was a church built in the 1920s, it was one of the oldest buildings in the community. Before permitting the building, it was necessary for the design team to present our solution to the Chattanooga Historic Preservation Board, as well as to the City Council.
They did a wonderful job designing this building in that sense of the old and the new combined together. It's just a brilliant idea.
One of the prime objectives for the project was to maintain the historical significance of the building. But second to that was to have a building that met the programming needs for the church. Probably the most significant change from the old building to the new building was the addition to one side of the sanctuary. The narthex was expanded to create a space for parishioners to gather, have coffee, and circulate to the back portion of the building without disturbing what was going on within the sanctuary.
I think those who are not so familiar with this community or new to it feel welcome because they come in and they see some modernity, and I think the old people see the sanctuary and it still reminds them aesthetically of a church. So it's a great combination of the old and the new.
Members received the best of both worlds, a new church within the original church walls in a very supportive historic district. Finally, when the lights were turned back on, the congregation was awed by what they saw. The interior flow had changed, allowing people to move easily through the building. The new space alongside the sanctuary reveals the exterior of the original structure. The simplistic beauty of the space allows light from the outside to fill the new narthex.
We worked very closely with both the owner and the contractor. By doing this, it controlled the cost, it controlled the budget, and this allowed us to build them exactly what they needed.
I think they built a pretty incredible building for the amount of money they had and what they worked with. But we've been very blessed in that we had good insurance and it covered most everything. As you see now, you see how great it looks. The building itself almost has a soul, if you want to say. We're reaching out to this community. So I think what it gave us more than anything, especially with the new fellowship hall, gymnasium / community center, a building that will serve the community better and allow us to become more oriented to helping the less fortunate.
Despite St. Elmo's traditional building design, CDH applied sustainable design principles to rebuild the church. Stair treads in the expanded narthex came from salvaged timbers rescued from the original building. Reclaimed brick from the fire was also used on the exterior of the new addition.
It was important to pay tribute to the existing building and to what had been there before. So great pains were taken to match what we could. The stained glass windows were replicated. The pews were modeled after what had been there before. The new space that's alongside the sanctuary showed the exterior of the existing building, and with some contemporary elements that were very minimalistic, it allowed the building to speak for itself. Large windows along that side also allow you to see into the space. You can actually see the former exterior walls through there. But when you're inside, you have a great view to Lookout Mountain just beyond where the church is located.
It was powerful to see this building consecrated to God and given to God. And that's why we're here. That's our purpose, is to worship and to make a difference in the lives of people.